Welcome to the Sports Ticket Podcast with Wade Gershner. Hey folks, thanks for tuning in for another edition of the Sports Ticket Podcast. I know all of us Chiefs fans, and if there's any Eagle fans out there listening to the podcast, are getting pumped up and ready for Super Bowl 59. We'll break down the game a little bit more here in a moment, including Chiefs' keys to victory on Sunday. Two wild scenarios I've thought of for the Chiefs to clinch a three-peat. What a three-peat would mean. Also, we'll preview the Sunflower Showdown between KU and K-State, plus 5 Super Bowl sports questions for my wife. And don't forget, you can message me or follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle, NCKSRadioGuy10. All right, let's get to it. Super Bowl 59 coming up this Sunday between the Eagles and the Chiefs, a rematch of Super Bowl 57. So many ways to look at this game. We can overanalyze it to death. Many people already have. That's what happens when you have 2 weeks between the conference title games and the Super Bowl. So let's start with the obvious. Turnovers, of course, are always key. Last time the two teams met in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts had a fumble that was scooped up and returned for a touchdown by Nick Bolton, which was a gigantic play in that game. Eagles were up 7 at the time. That tied it. If you remember, the Eagles were up 10 at halftime, and then the Chiefs' offense was virtually unstoppable in the second half as Andy Reid and the coaching staff made adjustments. Both these teams, in my opinion, especially on defense, are better than those teams that played each other 2 years ago in Super Bowl 57. To me, there's multiple keys for the Chiefs. Let's start here. First down. Chiefs need to stay ahead of the sticks. Short, quick passing game. If you're really worried about the offensive line, how it's going to hold up in obvious passing situations against that formidable defensive line led by Jalen Carter, they're going to have to mix in some runs. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have to run the ball super effectively to win, but they have to keep the defense honest and mix in the run with Hunt and maybe a little bit Pacheco, but I think Hunt's going to be the main guy. And then that also will give Mahomes a little bit of confidence with that short, quick passing game. And that short, quick passing game can really, in essence, be an extension of the running game. So stay ahead of the sticks. The Chiefs have done a good job of that throughout the year. You don't want to get into obvious third and long situations where you have to throw the football. So if you can utilize a short, quick passing game, mix in some runs, keep the Eagles honest, that'll protect the O-line. That'll protect Caliendo at left guard, which is a major concern for me, how he's going to hold up there with Joe Thuney at left tackle. And another thing, too, is the offense, it doesn't have to score, I think, 30 or 40 points to win this game, but the offense does have to avoid the quick 3 and outs so that the Chiefs' defense is not worn out when they're defending the Eagles' run game. Because you got to deal with Saquon Barkley, but also Jalen Hurts, of course, is an outstanding running quarterback. How healthy is he? I think he's fairly healthy, but maybe not 100%. Can the Chiefs contain Saquon Barkley? Yes, I think they can. I said it in yesterday's podcast, Barkley could run for 140 yards on 18 carries and have 1 touchdown, and people will be like, oh my gosh, the Chiefs didn't do a good job against Barkley. But if Barkley ends up having a 60-yard touchdown run, and he only carries it 18 times in the game, that means the Chiefs are probably going to win. Because if Barkley carries it 25, 30 times, that means the Eagles more likely are ahead most of the game, and that Barkley's effective running the football. So I think for the Eagles to win, Barkley's got to carry the ball at least 20 times, if not 25 times. And for the Chiefs to win, Barkley under 20 carries, and if they give up one big explosive play, not the end of the world. They just can't give up a plethora of big plays, and I don't expect them to do that. Another thing, too, about the Eagle offense, everybody focuses on Barkley, Jalen Hurts, of course, and Devontae Smith, and the talented offensive line, and A.J. Brown is an outstanding wide receiver. But Jalen Hurts holds the ball longer than a lot of quarterbacks. He's been sacked 11 times in the last 3 games. Can the Chiefs' pass rush get there? Many times, the Eagles' offensive line has done a pretty decent job. It's just that Jalen Hurts holds the ball longer than he should. That should give some opportunities for Karlaftis, Amenahue, and also Chris Jones, and then if the Chiefs bring the blitz to get to Jalen Hurts. One of the biggest keys in this game that I think a lot of people have overlooked a little bit is Patrick Mahomes' legs. I mean, Mahomes was on a bum ankle when they beat the Eagles a couple years ago, had a big run to set up the game-winning field goal. Mahomes' legs were huge against the Bills last a couple weeks ago in the AFC title game, even some designed runs. And remember the one game that the Chiefs lost during the regular season where they played all their starters? That was in Buffalo. And what did Buffalo do? They had a spy on Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes, if I remember correctly, didn't have any rushing yardage in that game. Now, in the rematch, the Chiefs were able to have design runs for Mahomes, and the Bills didn't do as good a job of keeping a spy or keeping an eye on Patrick Mahomes. So, can the Eagles keep Mahomes in the pocket and prevent him from getting those big scrambles on second and long or a third down where he can pick up a first down? That'll be big. And keep in mind, the Eagles just played Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, and they did a pretty good job against Daniels when he left the pocket. Will the Eagles stick with zone, or will they play more man-to-man? Listen, the Chiefs are really good against zone, and you know the number one guy to beat the zone for the Kansas City Chiefs is number 87, Travis Kelce. So I think the Eagles are going to have to play more man-to-man than they normally do, which will be interesting to see how they stack up. Their secondary is better than it was a few years ago, no question about it, even though they got a couple rookies back there. They're very talented. But what kind of tricks does Andy Reid have up his sleeve to maybe fool those rookies in the secondary? Eagles secondary is very talented. Their defense, number one in the league. Will they stick with zone, or they play more man-to-man? That'll be interesting to watch. I saw this on Twitter, and I want to share this with everybody out there here on the Sports Ticket Podcast. Super Bowl 58 last year, the Chiefs beat the 49ers, as we know, in overtime. The Niners linebacker Dre Greenlaw got hurt, and Oren Burks replaced him. And Burks was targeted 9 times by the Chiefs, and the Chiefs got 9 receptions on those 9 targets. His pass coverage grade was very poor, 32.1. And Travis Kelce had a huge second half last year against the Niners. Okay, well, fast forward to this year's Super Bowl on Sunday. Eagles linebacker Nakobe Dean is hurt. Guess who's his replacement? Oren Burks. Now, will Oren Burks be defending Kelce every play in the pass game? Probably not, but you don't think Andy Reid and the Chiefs are smart enough to get Kelce isolated on Oren Burks? Keep an eye on that matchup in the Super Bowl, or perhaps Noah Gray. I think the Chiefs can take advantage. If there's a lot of attention with Travis Kelce, you could see Noah Gray have a big game. And then it's time to talk about breakout performances. I think Hollywood Brown could have a breakout performance. You know, just kind of getting into shape, football shape. He's been back with the team there, middle of December. He's getting acclimated to the passing game. There's going to be a lot of focus on Worthy and Kelce. I think Hollywood Brown could have a big breakout game for the Chiefs and have some big moments. And then how about Mahomes having a breakout Super Bowl? He has 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in his Super Bowl appearances. He isn't exactly lit the world on fire statistically, but he's made the big plays in crunch time like we're so accustomed to seeing him do. Will this be the Mahomes breakout where the Chiefs roll? They beat the Eagles by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Mahomes throws for over 300 yards and absolutely puts on a masterpiece. We shall see. And in time for the ring, the Chiefs are going for the 3-peat. Kareem Hunt has never won a Super Bowl. Samaje Perine has been to a Super Bowl with the Bengals, but hasn't won a Super Bowl. DeAndre Hopkins has never won a Super Bowl, and I'm sure there's other Chiefs players, of course, including the rookies, that have never won a Super Bowl. Time for their ring. You want to think about a couple of wild scenarios? I've thought of a couple. What if the Chiefs late in the game have a 3rd down and a yard, or 3rd and a half, 3rd and 1.5, or maybe it's even 4th and 1, and the Chiefs don't want to punt the football to the Eagles, and there's less than 2 minutes remaining in the game, and the Chiefs lead by 1, 2, 3, 4 points, or even 5, 6, 7 points, 1 possession game. Wouldn't it be something if the Chiefs clinched the 3-peat and salted away the clock by running a quarterback sneak with Patrick Mahomes? Wouldn't that be something? Now, here's a wild scenario. Nobody has mentioned Carson Wentz. Why would you? He's Mahomes' backup. Carson Wentz is a former Eagle. He was the quarterback of the Eagles when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. However, he was a quarterback during the regular season, then got hurt late in the season. He was on pace to be the regular season NFL MVP. Ripped up ligaments in his knee. Nick Foles took over, and Nick Foles played great and led the Eagles to a win over the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And Carson Wentz, even though he has a Super Bowl ring with the Eagles, did not play in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't it be something? And Lord knows I do not want to see this happen unless I knew the end result. Wouldn't it be something if Patrick Mahomes had to leave the game, and about the only way I can see him having to leave the game is he's completely concussed and gets hit, say, in the 4th quarter. The Chiefs are down by 4 or something like that, 1 possession, and Carson Wentz comes in and drives the Chiefs right down the field for a touchdown, and the Chiefs win a 3-peat with a former Eagle quarterback, former Eagle head coach Andy Reid. Wouldn't that be something? And Carson Wentz would get to play in a Super Bowl for the first time. And if you think it's crazy to say those things, we've seen Matt Moore come off the street and help the Chiefs win a game when Mahomes was hurt, when he dislocated his kneecap on a quarterback sneak against the Broncos. Remember Chad Henne came in and had to make a big run and then a big throw on a fourth down in a playoff game against the Browns. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but of course Chiefs fans don't want to hear anything about Mahomes having to leave the game. What would a three-peat mean? Not only that, the Chiefs then, if they get the three-peat, they will have won 4 Super Bowls in the last 6 years. The Chiefs would be second all-time with 5 Super Bowl wins. They'd have 4 Super Bowl wins in the last 6 years. Mahomes would be second all-time with Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw with 4 rings. That would only trail Tom Brady, who has 7, 6 with the Patriots and 1 for the Buccaneers. And then it would be the Chiefs' 10th straight playoff win if they win on Sunday against the Eagles. That would tie them for the longest postseason winning streak in NFL history. You may say, well, how is that possible that somebody else would have just as many in a row? Well, the Chiefs have had first-round byes because they've been the number 1 or number 2 seed before the playoff format changed, and now they were a 1 seed this year. And you really could ask yourself, shouldn't byes count as wins? Because Mahomes has been so good in his career that the Chiefs usually get a first-round bye, so they have to play less playoff games, which is great. They get rest and everything else, but that's an automatic win. Everybody else is having to play and win a game to get to the divisional round, and they play in the wild card weekend, and the Chiefs just sitting there resting up. All right, it's time for predictions. I'm sure everybody out there has a prediction. I don't feel super confident about my prediction in regards to the score. I don't know if I'm thinking with my head or my heart, but the part of me tells me that when you're so close to history, it seems like it doesn't happen. But you know what? Last year, I thought the same thing. Chiefs trying to go for back-to-back Super Bowls, and it took overtime, and they found a way to win. The Chiefs just find a way to win. And as long as they don't have any big-time injury in this game, I think they'll find a way to win again. The over-under on this game is 48.5 points, the last I saw. I think a lot of people are going to take the under. I will as well. I think both defenses are very good. Wouldn't shock me if both teams got hot, Hurts and Mahomes, and maybe we would get both teams to 30 points. But my prediction, and this will be the third craziest scenario, I've got the Chiefs winning Super Bowl 59, 23, Eagles 22. Here's the scenario. Eagles are down 7. They have the ball. They go down the field. They milk the clock, and it's my worst nightmare, just like Baltimore in week 1, except thankfully their tight end's toe was on the back line. When I watched week 1 and the Ravens and the Chiefs, I knew that the Ravens, down 7, were going to go for 2 if they scored a touchdown to try to win the game. And they milked the clock, and they did everything perfectly except they had the wrong size of shoe on their tight end's foot. And I'm convinced still that if they would have been inbounds and scored a touchdown, they would have gone for 2. We know they would have, and I think they would have got it, and the Chiefs would have started the year 0-1. Instead, by a toe, the Chiefs won that game. And then the Buccaneers had a Monday night game where they should have been going for 2. And they didn't. You have a chance to beat the Chiefs. You don't take a chance in overtime. You saw what happened last year with the 49ers. They got the ball first. They took a chance on kicking a field goal and giving the ball back to Mahomes when they should have gone for it. When you're trying to beat the Chiefs, you've got to try to beat the Chiefs. You can't wait for the Chiefs to make a mistake. Will they make a mistake? It's possible, but you've got to go out and take it. And the Eagles are a team that's very aggressive. They're great, aggressive on fourth down, short yardage situations. So the Chiefs are up 23-16. Eagles get the ball, they milk the clock, they go right down the field, they score a touchdown, and the Eagles decide to go for 2 instead of going to overtime, and the Chiefs defense comes up with a stop on a 2-point try, and that's my prediction. Chiefs 23, Eagles 22. I might have a heart attack watching the game if that does in fact happen. The Eagles go for 2, and they don't convert. But I will say this. I've thought about this quite a bit for a while now with the Chiefs. You really feel like the Chiefs have to be up 8. Not that they can't win up 7, but if teams have a chance to go down and score down 7, they'd be crazy not to go for 2 and try to win it instead of going to overtime. So there you have it. There's a look at Super Bowl 59. Will it be the Chiefs three-peating, or will the Eagles get their first Super Bowl win since 2017? And what would a three-peat mean? A three-peat would mean the Chiefs are the best organization in NFL history over a certain span of time, which would be basically the 7 years Mahomes has been a starter. No team has done anything like the Chiefs have done, in particular if they get the three-peat. Teams have made it to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. Teams have made it to Super Bowl 3 years in a row. Teams have won Super Bowl 2 out of 3 years, but nobody has won 3 in a row. And it puts Mahomes in a whole different stratosphere all by himself, which he's close to being anyway. It puts Kelsey there. It puts Andy Reid there. It puts the Chiefs organization right at the top of maybe the best NFL dynasty of all time. Does it make him the greatest organization of all time? Well, they'd still be trailing the Steelers and the Patriots who have 6 Super Bowls. The Chiefs would have 5 if they win on Sunday. Keep in mind, Mahomes still hasn't turned 30 yet, so there's still time to get past that. Coming up here on the Sports Ticket Podcast, 5 sports questions for my wife. We'll preview the Sunflower Showdown. Also, the MVP was given out in the National Football League, and a former Chief is going to the Hall of Fame. That to come here on the Sports Ticket Podcast. All right, in case you didn't see, Josh Allen was named NFL MVP. Kind of crazy because Lamar Jackson was first-team All-Pro quarterback. Allen was not. Usually that means that whoever's a first-team All-Pro quarterback is going to be the MVP. Instead, it went to Josh Allen. There was one time where Adrian Peterson won the MVP over a quarterback that was first-team All-Pro. Josh Allen was not first-team All-Pro. It was Lamar Jackson. I think they both are deserving, certainly. Lamar had this best statistical year of his career, better than when he's won a couple of MVPs. Josh Allen had a terrific year as well. And here's the crazy thing to me is Josh Allen only got 1 vote for Offensive Player of the Year, and he only plays one side of the ball, offense. The Offensive Player of the Year award went to Saquon Barkley. Lamar Jackson got 12 votes for that award. Allen got 1, yet Josh Allen is your MVP. And that's great. I'm sure Chiefs fans and Patrick Mahomes saying, you can have your MVPs during the regular season. I'll take home the Super Bowl MVP and the Lombardi. So once again, second straight year that Patrick Mahomes and Chiefs beat that season's NFL MVP, Lamar Jackson last year, and then Josh Allen this year. And I think it's just voter fatigue. You know, Michael Jordan probably should have been MVP virtually every year he played in the NBA, but he didn't win it. And then Charles Barkley would get it, and let's see, Karl Malone won it, and then all Jordan would do is beat him head-to-head in the playoffs or in the NBA Finals. And that's kind of similar to what Mahomes and Chiefs have done to Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, among others. So Josh Allen seems like a great guy. Congrats on the MVP. You certainly make a case for Lamar Jackson to be MVP for the 3rd time in his career. But at the end of the day, Chiefs fans wouldn't trade their quarterback for any of these MVPs in the National Football League. The Hall of Fame selection process took place. Former Chief Jared Allen, who is an outstanding edge rusher, wore number 69 for the Chiefs, played for the Vikings. He was a 4th-round pick, if I remember correctly. He is going into the Hall of Fame, so congratulations to him. All right, Sunflower Showdown preview. It's coming up on Saturday at 1 o'clock at Bramlage. It's number 16 KU, 16-6 overall, 7-4 in the Big 12. In Manhattan and the Little Apple will take on K-State, who is red hot. They're 11-12, 5-6 in the Big 12, but they won 4 in a row. Michael Beasley is in the house. Remember, it was Beasley and Walker that helped K-State break that 24-game losing streak at home to Kansas. Kansas basically owned Bramlage. Well, not so much anymore. Jerome Tang is 2-0 at Bramlage at home against KU. It'd be the first time since the early 80s if K-State can win on Saturday to have 3 wins in a row over KU in Manhattan. The Jayhawks have struggled on the road at times. They did win at Cincinnati, but they lost by 17 to Iowa State. They gave up 60 points in the second half at Baylor. Wildcats are playing really good basketball. Caught a break with a couple missed free throws the other day against Arizona State. KU looked great against Iowa State at home, but we just don't know what KU team is going to show up. This is K-State's Super Bowl. I know the odds would say it's against K-State to win 3 in a row at home against KU. And this KU team, it's just too inconsistent right now, and until they prove me otherwise, I got to take the home team. I got the Wildcats knocking off KU 69-64, and Jerome Tang remains undefeated against KU in home games in Manhattan. Well, as promised, and this might be the best installment of our 5 questions for my wife, our final installment of Super Bowl sports questions for my wife, and I must warn you, it didn't go well for her this time around. That's coming up in a moment. Thanks for listening to the Sports Ticket Podcast. Don't forget, we'll be talking to you again either Sunday night or Monday to recap Super Bowl 59. Hopefully, we are talking about a three-peat. All right, it is time for my favorite part of the Sports Ticket Podcast, where I get to quiz my lovely wife about sports. And then my 11-year-old tries to make my wife look even worse when it comes to her knowledge of sports. This is our third and final installment of Super Bowl questions. 5 questions for my wife and 11-year-old. Here is question number 1. What NFL team lost 4 straight Super Bowls?
Philadelphia Eagles.
The Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills would be correct. 11-year-old scores a point. New Orleans has hosted the Super Bowl 11 times. This will be the 11th time coming up on Sunday. Eagles Chiefs, Super Bowl 59. There is one other city in America, United States of America. It's a warm city that has also hosted the Super Bowl 11 times. Name that city.
Phoenix.
Miami.
Score 1 for the 11-year-old. 2-0. Well done, my son. So my wife is 0 for 2, and my 11-year-old is 2 for 2. Question number 3. What NFL team did Andy Reid coach before joining the Kansas City Chiefs?
Oh, San Diego?
The Eagles.
Once again, my 11-year-old, correct. My wife, wrong. Time for question 4. What Chief caught the game-winning touchdown pass in the Super Bowl last year in overtime to give the Chiefs back-to-back championships? What Chiefs player caught the game-winning pass from Patrick Mahomes in overtime to beat the 49ers last year?
Tyreek Hill.
Well, considering he hasn't been on the Chiefs team for 3 years, I would say that is incorrect. Mr. 11-year-old, what do you think?
McCole Hardman.
Ding, 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 ding. 11-year-old, 4 for 4, batting 1,000. And my wife is a big, fat ofer. She's not big and fat. She's got a big, fat 0 for 4. Now for question number 5, to where my 11-year-old can go perfect and hit 1,000, and my wife can avoid doing her first ever ofer in this segment. Here we go. What is the name of the Super Bowl trophy? What is it called?
Oh, my word. I have no clue.
Take a shot.
I don't know.
It was named after a great coach.
That tells me nothing.
Vince Lombardi, the trophy.
Oh, my goodness gracious. The 11-year-old. What would you like to say after you went perfect?
She doesn't know any sports.
I think you are correct. Most sports, yes.
Well, especially football. Football's my least favorite sport.
If you don't know how my family operates, ladies and gentlemen, on Super Bowl Sunday, my 11-year-old will be watching what on television?
The Super Bowl.
I will be watching the Super Bowl. And do you think my wife will be watching the Super Bowl?
No.
What will you be watching?
Well, I might watch the halftime show. But I'll probably be watching a movie or Netflix or something.
We asked this question earlier in the week, but who is the halftime entertainer this year?
Oh.
You missed this earlier in the week.
Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, okay. My wife's going to tune in for Kendrick Lamar and then go back to watching the Polygamy Channel or whatever it is that she likes to watch with the guy with balding, long, blonde hair. What's the name of that show?
Should I promote it? I don't know.
It's up to you.
Sister Wives.
Sister Wives. And you wonder how she doesn't know anything about sports, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to the Sports Ticket. That's 5 questions for my wife, and she goes 0 for 5.
This has been the Sports Ticket Podcast with Wade Gershner. Interact with Wade online. Follow him on Twitter at NCKS Radio Guy 10.